I got to thinking about the difference between habits and routines this week because my routine was broken, my morning routine, because I was traveling last week and will be actually for the next couple of weeks. And that has interfered with the routine that I rely on to get certain things done, including talking to you. I've missed a few times where I ordinarily would sit down and have a conversation because my routine was broken. I feel a little bit bad about that because I find that once a routine is broken for too long, it can be abandoned or at least hard to get some of those activities back on track. And talking to you is important to me, so I wanted to make sure I didn't get too far astray. So here I am. But having said that, I'll be traveling again next week and probably will be challenged again to stay on track in thinking of things to discuss with you in the hopes that they're interesting and that you might want to share back with me. Well, what about habits? Well, habits are part of routines oftentimes, but not all routines are habitual. There's a difference here, and I think it's important, perhaps, in discussing or considering that is our good habits and our bad habits, if we have some of those. Obviously, good habits are things that we want to perpetuate, keep doing, and by definition, a habit is something that doesn't require a lot of thought because it becomes almost automated in our behaviors. We just tend to do it, like wash our hands after we use the restroom, that sort of thing. It's a habitual activity that has a lot of good for us to do. We may have some bad habits too, though, that we could very well do away with. I've got tons of them, but one of them, literally going talking about weight measures, I'm overeating these days. And I know that when I don't overeat, I feel better because I'm not carrying as much weight around on my body. And even though I've been going through a health challenge with this cancer, uh, and frankly, that's one of the reasons I guess I've been overeating, feeling sorry for myself. I figure I might as well indulge. But that in turn leads to, aches and pains I might not otherwise have, and so on. So, eating for the wrong reasons for me is a bad habit. Some people might turn to alcohol to ease their pain. Frankly, that's not a problem I have. I like a beer and maybe a little wine once in a while, but I can do very well without it. Would almost always go for ice cream over beer if I was given the choice. Ideally, though, on different occasions, of course, I would take both of those. So, if you broke a routine that happens to have bad habits in it, that may not be such a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing and might be useful if you're exploring ways to end a habit that you recognize as not being a good one for you. By the same token, if you're striving to build good habits, whatever they might be, establish a routine so that they become perhaps a part of your activities that fit into a loose or even a formal schedule if you keep those. So that they become important enough for you to do regularly. That's the whole point of developing good habits, and of course, that is the actual definition of a routine. Well, I've missed you the last week or so. I think there's a lot of things we have to talk about. Maybe you have some ideas for me. If you do, please share them. But I'm glad that at least for a moment, my routine of communicating with you has come on track. July has been a very good month for me. This is July 2023. I do have to go back to MD Anderson, the cancer center that is taking care of me. Next week, that'll happen. Actually, the week after next, when I'm actually going to have scans done, that'll give me an idea of where I stand with my disease. So far, things have been going well. And if you look carefully, you can see that the eye that was previously shut tight has reopened, at least partially. I don't have full control over it, but I see this as a good sign. So, that's a whole different discussion, of course. But hope, as we've shared before, is an important motivator to restored health. And I have hope, I have faith in God, and I thank you for the prayers that you've shared. That's one habit I want to keep, and I want it to become part of my routine. Take care.